beautiful people? Welcome back to this video. Today, I have a special guest. As you can probably see in the title, we have Mikhael, leader of Knights and current champion of the last tournament. Well, I say current champion, it's the entire club that's the current champion, but by God, is this man the leader and a great one at that. So, he's actually graciously offered up his time, and we're going to talk about tournament, we're going to talk about strategy and how it all came about and how he feels about winning the first tournament. Mika, feel free to say hi, by the way.
Yeah, hi, what's going on? Yeah, Mika, Michael, Mikhael, whatever you want to call it. I am leader of the Knights group on LOCK PWC. We've been around from the very beginning, and it's great to be here on Hike and Stream.
Thank you. I guess I'm just gonna throw you straight into a question. You know, like let's just go straight in. Like going into this tournament, what was your key strategy? I'm sure winning was the main strategy, but like, how did you get about like brainstorming and figuring out what worked, and what was the key strategy going in?
I'm gonna be honest, the big thing, and I feel like it was kind of different for JP because I mean, I'm pretty sure most of the top clubs had some form of access to how things went in JP because you always want to follow, I guess, the formula, like whatever the blueprint was. Then you wanna either look at it for what that is or kind of tweak it to your own game. And I think that's really what it was, just making sure that we had kind of teams developed to cover everything. That's kind of how the meta's been for a little bit, at least on global, where you just have your fizz, your speed, forward, yada yada. But strategy wise, I mean, just the focus on winning games. The start of the tournament, I can speak on this for I think every of the major clubs. You don't really have to try. And I'm not saying this to, shit on any part of my language, but shit on anybody, of those clubs. There's just obviously there's whales and there's not whales, and that's just how it's. But taking that time, like when you're not really challenged, too much, and kind of prepping yourself up for those bigger later battles, which we're gonna get into. Um, but really just making sure you're setting up your teams and prioritizing like not only like stats but like key skills, which there are plenty of. I mean, we had we haven't had it really affect the tournament, but I remember there was like that Man of Steel glitch back then that kind of applied to all players, and it was just like if you knew, you knew. If you didn't, found out because your games get really lopsided real quick. Um, but I mean, yeah, it just took the time to developing teams and really just preparing for the finals. I think that's what it was all about. So strategy leading up to the finals, it wasn't really that much other than just stockpiling as much as you can, training the best units you can, to bring out against other people. And everybody did that, and the matchups in that final round were pretty.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I had a sit down just before. I remember when the tournaments first got announced, you and I actually had to sit down and we did chat regarding team setups. And I think I went over what I was going in with. And I actually further made a video on what that meta team was because I went into JP, did all the research, and, you know, had people like Dashwolf guide me on this one. And then relayed that. And you were already coming in with strategies to try and beat that. And I remember you going, actually, that is probably not the most optimal way. And you're telling me what works for you in comparison. And I sat there going into that, going, if he's right, he's going to win this tournament. Like, I could already tell just through that chat that if you are right, you are winning this whole thing. And if you are wrong, you are going to flunk hard. And it was fine. And it was just a very interesting. And like the fact that you've then come out and won it just shows how on top of your game you were going into that. I guess moving forward with this, like moving into that tournament phase, I know phase one is always like the super easy phase where you get those lower teams. As you sort of progress, you start to face the stronger, harder teams. What was like a critical moment within, I guess, the more challenging teams? Like, and how did you overcome that?
And we're focusing specifically, like I will say names like Giga Chad. I think Acathia was another team that was really good. I honestly got to give a lot of credit also to Experian too. They kind of came out. They had a couple of strong players there that really helped them push through. Um, Traders, your favorite.
Oh yeah.
Um, and I'm not trying to forget anybody else. Oh, Smex, love those guys.
Hmm.
Real contenders. And I feel like I'm forgetting some.
Probably are. Espada? No, Espana?
I mean, Espana, of course, but like
Yeah.
I'm gonna get into that in a minute times.
Yeah, I think so.
They were. I think that was the dream matchup going into this tournament, and I can
Hmm.
later.
Hmm.
But yeah, the tactics for those, and I think I would say the most crucial part of this tournament, and of course it came around the finals, was who could optimize the best Raichi V,
Hmm.
because that like bomb getting dropped right before the finals, it was just like I think it was a 2-3 day window. Make
Yeah.
the best Raichi you can with the skills that you need. You had to like pick it up real quick, and that was what's gonna change it. And to be honest, I think I kind of set it up so that like pretty much I did a lot of puppeteering for the
Hmm.
entire team. I think throughout the entire finals matchup, I was just telling everybody like, we need to make a thread. Let's see all the comps. Let's let's lay everything out. Everybody should be focusing these skills. We need to do these lineups, and it was a little tedious. And I'm kind of glad that that's changing up in the next tournament, that you can't do dupe teams,
Yeah.
because setting up like two of everything gets a little monotonous and kind of boring. It's
Yeah,
cool
no,
that
I'm
you
with
can
that.
use like your backups or like whatever, like your old PB, and
Hmm.
utilize that. But I am very much looking forward to the variety.
Same, 100%. And I think having that variety not only is going to allow us to utilize more team members, because I know we only have 10 slots, and what it does is it forces, I guess, every single member to actually put a team forward. And other than that, having people put multiple teams forward and have very, some cool new strategies moving in. I think the next tournament will be harder. Will hopefully be harder, more competitive for sure. Um, I guess pushing through with that, like, how did you adopt your playstyle around certain opponents? Because as you mentioned, we had a nice variety of opponents, and I know that you're saying it was stats driven, but was it just stats driven, or was there you knew you had certain opponents, and therefore you had to tailor your teams to their opponents and pray that you actually matched them as well, or was it just I need to just make the optimal perfect team that was in like your head and just get the stats and the skills correct?
I think we definitely just had like benchmark numbers. Like stats is always going to be important.
Mm-hmm.
The skills do give you the edge.
Mm.
So I mean, it's like you can't get far without each, right?
Yeah.
Because you can have somebody beat in stats, but if they have proper skills that just work out for their team better, they're gonna be. Unfortunately, like with this game, it's kind of hard because we don't know what greatly boost or boost. We don't know what those numbers mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can only hope that like getting certain things really does make a difference, and we have to just keep on doing like I think a big thing was doing a lot of like practice matches between us, like just putting your team up on your profile, going up against people. It's a really not reliable method in terms of defending, because intelligence doesn't really apply to those matchups
Mm.
as it would in a tournament like setting or in a league match setting.
Yeah.
But just kind of seeing, I guess you can really test the offensive caliber of players, and you kind of just have to hope for other elements to kind of, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's a lot of RNG. Um,
Absolutely.
if I could have any more control, um, but I mean, and give me one.
Fair, fair, fair. Okay. Next question actually on my list is what was the most important lesson you learned throughout this tournament phase? Like, what did tournament number one teach you, and pushing into tournament number two, what sort of information are you going in with, if any?
Um, I think the biggest thing, and I want to go back to a prior question when we were speaking about like specific matchups, because I want to give a real big shout out to, I think, Giga Chad.
Hmm.
Um, they had they had a really solid team all around, the people there, and they brought very unique play styles to the finals of the tournament
Hmm.
that honestly had me shaking a little bit. And
Hmm.
we did adapt that going into the tournament later. But the utilization of Anniversary Rin and Ex Bachira, and I think I even saw a couple of people throwing in like Zantetsus and such, really
Oh.
prioritizing shutting down offense is what their teams were all about. Um, Skills like Future Sight, which I mean I can pull up real quick right now. One moment.
Mm-hmm.
See if I have
This is the
a.
added benefit of having you on the screen share as well, because we can actually look at teams and review certain skills, which is really cool.
Yeah, so I noticed this heavily. This skill future site that brings up the shot block rate just really made Anniversary Rin just such a defensive threat that I didn't really think he was going to be. I always considered him to just be the trainer for V3 Asagi. I didn't know that how much utility that he actually brought until Giga Chad kind of unfolded that on us. And that matchup alone was pretty insane. And I can go into it in just a moment, but
Yeah.
they just basically prioritized that shot block. They prioritized their defenses because not all the players of their team had the capability to keep up
Mm.
in the sense of power to power, but they made it a really close game. And I mean, I just, hats off to them. I think that with the utilization of also throwing in forward Shido as opposed to Rin V2,
Mm.
a lot of the match skills for Shido with these current, like with Bachira, Raichi even, and the anniversary Rin, it almost made like a super Shido. Everything that they did complemented that character and made him a lot stronger. I mean,
Mm.
it still can't mitigate the fact that he loses shot range or whatever,
Yeah.
but it was just something new. Everybody was kind of using the same thing. You kind of expected everybody using the same. So when they popped out with all these different lineups, I was generally worried going into them.
I mean, I
Um,
think from where I sit, I definitely sat there going, me publishing a meta team per se when I released that, I was like, is everyone going to end up running this lineup? I'm so happy that there was variety and teams like Giga Chad brought these out because it blew everything out of the water, right? It made everything more competitive, and like I wouldn't have known about that Rin if they hadn't done it. So, like and it just shows just the depth this game genuinely does have, and I think a lot of people gloss over it, but there is a ton of depth in this game for the most part, and it's only going to get better. But go on, I cut you off. My bad.
no, you're fine. I just want to say, yeah, thanks to Giga Chad. Thank you guys because I'm gonna be honest, my second team running that exact thing. I was like, you know what? Rather than just kind of having watered down versions of my main team, I'm gonna put up my best of this other stuff, and it kind of evened out my teams because instead of having your main team with like whatever million power and then the other team lacking behind a couple million because they're just lesser versions, I was able to kind of just put a whole functional team that I could even interchange if I would want to.
Hmm.
It's very good in away matches, and I think away matches in this finals part of the tournament were the biggest thing, and that's the thing I was trying to prioritize the most as we played against better and better teams. Versus Giga Chad, and this was the big strategy that I tried to do for Giga Chad and Espana specifically because they were our biggest opponents going into. Espana was a little bit more of a grudge match because we had come off of a recent loss to them prior to this whole tournament. And Knights really prides themselves on trying to win everything. We slowed down with that a bit because we can't win all the time. And I didn't want to burn people. But we had taken a loss to Espana by 1 point. And I remember that just, it got to me. I won't even lie. I was like, damn, that did not feel good. And part of it was due to roster issues, but at the end of the day, the win is a win. Like, that's what it is.
Yep.
So we fixed our rosters and we were going into the tournament like, just straight up, you got to beat Espana. Like, I don't care what else happens. We just got to make sure we beat Espana. I don't want to lose. Um, but versus Giga Chad, initially in that tournament, targeting those early matches just because I wanted to set the tone. I
Mm-hmm.
put a lot of our strong teams, and I mean, we'll get into some of the MVPs of this tournament because I just had people they just hit power spots. I had a whole bunch of people in Nights 1 just power to fuck up and really just I'm gonna be honest, they carried me. I got
Yeah.
carried through the whole tournament. I'm gonna just say that right now. But we really prioritized attacking early on, and
Mm-hmm.
people caught on to that. And I think Giga Chad did send a lot of their early on people. That first Giga Chad matchup, which is the same way that the finals matchup, it all came down to the captain. We had a 18-9 lead going into the captain's match. If
Oh
I
wow.
had lost that matchup versus Emil, that
Yep.
that would have been the end of it right there. We would have just succumbed to second or third place or whatever, which was not the goal.
No, for
Um,
sure.
Thankfully, and becoming a unfortunate reoccurring event, I drew that match. And I mean that I can't really complain. When you're in the captain's position, you're going to be going against the best person on the other team. anything can happen, and to be honest, a draw is probably the best of the worst outcome.
Yeah, 100%.
So I mean, shout out to GigaChad. They gave us a run for our money. They could have ended us right there, and I appreciate them holding back even the slightest, if that's what I could even call it, because we barely survived that matchup. We were fairly confident going into the other games, but Espana. I'll leave it at that, and I'll pick that up later. I kind of want to let you go back to your questions before I kind of
Yeah, I mean,
go over the
weirdly,
great match.
my next question was, can you describe a critical moment in the finals, and what helped secure the win? Which I think actually leads us perfectly onto this. So what were your critical moments, and what helped you win those?
I'm gonna be honest. We'll focus, like I said, two biggest matchups in that whole thing. I wasn't, particularly like worried that a lot of these other matches would not swing our way.
Mm-hmm.
Even though shout out to K2 who was also in the finals. Shout out
You were.
to you as in there as well. You know, you guys always come at us and you give us your best. And we make sure that it's not like the old days where be honest, I built the clubs up a little too good in the past, and a lot of the times the under clubs were smacking the main club. So had to make sure that we locked in for that because we kind of got too comfortable. And thanks to you guys for pushing us up. Um, but that critical first captain match, just even forcing the draw so we could stay a contender for the tournament and reach to the very end.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first critical moment. Obviously, this Espana match, it was all critical moment. And I mean, throughout the tournament, I would really like to say that I appreciate everybody in Nights 1. Pedro, TJ, Yuko, Muichiro, Emil, Zach, and I'm I'm not gonna here. I'm gonna cheat real quick.
Is it bad? My next question was
I'm on the
actually
spot.
me. Who
There's
are
so
your
many people.
MVPs? And it's like, yeah, go on, list the whole team off.
Yeah, let's the whole team. I'm gonna be honest. Everybody, Ains, who hasn't they were going through personal stuff and they still managed to bolster their teams up and at least take an away match to help us do what we needed to do.
I
TJ
mean,
popped off. He just hit insane power spikes and just stopped losing. Yuko popped
damn.
off, just stopped losing. Muichiro held it down. I mean, he's been holding me down for a bit. I saw him in traders and I was like, you know, you'd look a lot better here, man. I'm just saying. And thankfully that worked out because he's been doing nothing but he's pushing me. Like as you can see with our TTP, he's keeping me in check.
Oh, for sure.
He's always pushing me to go just a little bit further. Pedro, huge power spike. We have a meme of Pedro always being the 06 guy, just always losing his matches. But I told him, we're breaking that curse here. You're gonna bring some wins for us. Emil, really, he's not trying to spend crazy amounts on this game, and I completely respect that. And
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, look at Arrow, look at other people. I'm not making anybody wail to be a part of Knights. These are all just people who've been with me since day one, who always go out of their way to push themselves and just put on for the team.
Oh, for real.
Emil put his team in and did work. Jacob, huge shout out to him. Jacob spends like I don't even know how many hours on BlueStacks just grinding players. That's just
I
his
see him
jam, and I
online
really
all the
respect it.
time.
Yeah, I really respect everybody who came in and just did what they had to do. And I
No.
appreciate Arrow a lot too. Arrow didn't take place in these matches, but I'm gonna be honest with you. Never sleep on Arrow. Arrow is probably the up and coming MVP of Knights when it comes to just knowledgeability, um, activity, everything. I mean, Arrow just came fresh off of leading K3 for the events,
Yep.
and events are so draining. To get everybody in your club to just be pushing these events nonstop, he's an amazing leader. And in
Mm-hmm.
all honesty, like I love to have people who just have great leadership skills. So, Arrow's completely free to play, and he's a Knights one. That just speaks volumes. That's my guy right there. Um, but yeah, these guys all they pushed their teams. We came into that final match versus Espana, really just trying to shut them out early because that's really the only way you could win.
Mm-hmm.
And that did not work out. Honestly, the craziest thing I've ever saw. Espana came in with all speed captains because they were really trying to get the edge on the fact to see, it's kind of like a stat check in other games.
Yeah.
see who really has been working on their speed, because it's been a while since we've even gotten speed cards.
Yep.
And I'm gonna be honest, me and other people like TJ, thankfully he had a 5 million speed Chigiri, which, you know, he held it down. With other people hit these super big numbers. Me personally, I was sweating because I did not hit a high Chigiri. I think my best Chigiri was 4.6, and I was just praying. I was like, please don't get gapped. But yeah, everybody had their best teams forward. We were trying to shut them out early. That was not the case. Whatever they were doing with their lineups, draw. And mind you, I had to go to work that day, the day of the tournament. So thankfully I got out early, but I still had to catch another appointment or whatever. Coming back from that, I'm racing home because I'm like, I need to see these games happen live. So I get home right as the first 5 games are going, and I'm like, okay, how's it going? Are we getting blown out or are we doing it? And they're like, it's all draws. And I'm like, there's no way.
It's gonna come down to the end, isn't it?
That's what I didn't want, just because throughout this entire tournament, I think I drew every single captain against like everybody's top person. And I was like, dang, I really would like to get a win. But I mean, a draw is great, and it kept us alive. I think the main thing I was more concerned about is not even the fact of me winning, but also how the point system works. I really wanted to get those wins to make sure that we could do stuff in the point system. In case it came down to a situation where we may have went 4-1 and another team went 4-1, and we'd have to win off those. They were crucial.
Yep.
But yeah, ridiculous amount of draws. Honestly, some upsets. I think I had lost a game to Crimson really early on with my secondary team. The first time I had lost in a tournament. And I was like, I was looking at it as a bad omen, honestly, because I was like, damn, I lost the first game. I feel like anything could happen now. And it was draw after draw after draw. I think we won 2 matches. They won that match against me, and then they won a really crazy swing match against Muichiro, the second vice captain, that put us down 6-8.
Damn.
I was hoping that maybe we could win some of those little extra games right before the captain's match to give us the edge, because if anything, if we drew, we could still be up that little bit amount of points, but no. So the most critical point of the tournament for me was, and I mean, huge shout out to Darrett. Ever since Darrett joined España, and ever since I've had the pleasure of talking with Darrett, super cool guy. In all honesty, I can kind of relate it to that scene in Blue Lock where Asagi referred to Rin as the main character. It almost feels like Darrett just has this main character energy about him.
Oh,
really cool guy. I've tried to recruit him. I will not have shame in saying this. I've tried to recruit Darrett. I love that guy. He's an amazing player. He's an amazing guy all around. And he always told me this. He said, I really just want to beat him. No animosity behind it. No, nothing. Just pure for the love of the game rivalry. And I completely respected that. And it was just so awesome. I messaged him about the night before when I was like, this is all it. Everything's on the line. Great luck in the games tomorrow. I appreciate you so much, man. Whatever happens, just know there's nothing bad between us. This is like storybook endings right here. We wanted the matchup. They wanted the matchup. And here we are in the final. So going into that match, I was real life nervous because we're down 6-8. I have to win this match versus Darrett, who in my eyes, TTP doesn't matter, nothing matters. This is about the person versus the person. And I mean, I think for days leading up to it, I was like, there's nothing more than I want, just to beat this guy, just out of respect.
Yeah.
I couldn't even look at my phone when the final seconds of the clock were winding down. It's so sucky that you cannot watch these games live because, I mean, I would still be shaking in my boots still.
Yeah.
But having to just kind of wait for that result to kind of pop up in your face, it's the most nerve-wracking thing. And I tell you, I think I waited like 30 seconds. I was seeing Discord ads go off after the final match had went off, and I was like, I was just sitting there trying to manifest a win in my head. And when I opened up my phone and I opened up that match and I saw that I had beaten Darrett, I shit you not, I screamed.
Yeah, I
I straight
mean,
up screamed. I threw
fair.
my voice for the rest of the day. It was the most, for a phone game, whatever, you can call it overkill. You can say it's cheesy or whatever. That was just such an amazing moment for me. Just being able to not only solidify ourselves for first place, to have overcome something that we said we were going to do, but to bring the win home for everybody on my team who worked really hard. I think that was the thing that mattered most to me, is not letting down everybody who worked their asses off to get to where we.
No,
That was the
absolutely.
special moment to me. So huge shout out to Espana. Thank you for putting up just such a great performance in the finals. Huge shout out to Knights. I love you guys. Thank you for working with me, playing with me, having a great time. It's honestly the best experience. I never imagined that um I could get this kind of feeling from mobile. Especially, I mean, I love Blue Lock as a franchise itself, and I never imagine an anime. I mean, you feel like you hear a lot of people say like, "Oh, this thing changed my life." Like I feel like Blue Lock then generally changed my life, or genuinely, pardon me. It genuinely changed my life a little bit, and I just really appreciate everything.
No,
So I'm gonna
same
pass the mic
boat.
to you because I feel like I said everything for just that critical moment. It really meant a lot to me, as you.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think I definitely echo the Blue Lock changed my life thing, because I think looking back when this game first dropped, I remember it was April 26th exactly. The fact that I know that date is kind of, was it 23rd? Maybe it was 23rd. It was I'm pretty sure it was 26th though. Anyway, I just remember when the game dropped and downloading it, going, I'll give this game a go. Next thing I know is I'm live streaming, and the following that this game brought, the community that this game brought, and this game does have a very nice community. Like, all in all, I mean, I know you were shouting out a bunch of people in Knights. I mean, I'll go through and shout. Arrow is just an absolute amazing person. Emil has helped me countless times ever since I've been in Knights. Emil's helped me with team comps, etc. many times. Eins, I mean, I feel like me and Eins go back now. Like, we've just became such good friends, and I need to check in on Eins. I haven't done that in a fair while, and I really need to. That's on me. But yeah, like every single person, Knights 1, Knights 2, Knights 3 and 4 as well. Like, I had the privilege of working under Arrow. Like, he is a fantastic leader, and I will echo that while, I've got you here. So yeah, I think it's a phenomenal community, and I guess my next question for you, probably on that note, is how do you lead such a phenomenal set of clubs, and how do you keep such fantastic people around you? Like, is there a secret? What is the secret?
Um, I you attract what you put out. I guess I don't know. I guess I put out good energy and I get good people around. That's all I can really think it is.
Mm.
Um, I'm very lucky, and I mean, we've had our hiccups in the past with certain people, and maybe just things didn't work out or whatever. Um, I never really hold grudges against anybody. Particular shout out to, I guess, somebody that I've had problems with in the past. Um, but I still have a lot of respect for you, and I don't hate you. So shout out to Rose in the chat.
I
You're
see
my
Rose in
buddy
the
till the
chat.
end. Don't I ain't forget you. I learned how to be a better leader because of you. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ozai mentioned many times that Arrow and Rose were that key figure part in K4 when he was there. He absolutely loved it. He didn't want to leave K4 because of Rose and Arrow. While they were in K4, he was like, I don't want to leave. And it was only like when they all moved up and moved away was he was like, I'm now happy to move away from K4. But yeah, I like shout out to Rose as well, because yeah, when we're looking back, we're looking back. This game's almost been around for a year. I think that's the crazy part. A lot of people forget that we're in March. We're the 1st of March today. This game, as of just over like a month away, is going to hit its first year anniversary, like a full first year anniversary, and I feel like a lot of us have become friends over this year. Whether we've been ridiculously active or not ridiculously active, we have all been friends. Someone like Darrett, who you have mentioned, just see him all the time on the PWC discords. See all his contributions. I mean, Crimson's in my chats all the time, and I get I'm the lucky player that gets to see sort of everyone in every club, and I get to communicate with everyone, which is really really fun. And just we do have a good community here. Like, truthfully, we have a good community here. So yeah, it's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just want to go on to say, like, Honestly, when I first started this whole Knights thing, um, I did not imagine it to go like. It wasn't even my idea. I'm gonna be honest with you. Being this whole, I mean, this whole kind of unit of people who are just like, hey, we're kind of killing it. Let's see how far we can push it.
Mm.
Because Knights was not my first club. I think my first club was called Egoist or something. I mean, pretty generic name. Hey, so
Mm-hmm.
was Knights. I would just like to say Knights isn't a reference to just medieval knights. It's actually kind of paying homage to an anime that I really like called Gios.
Mm-hmm.
The Black Knights was their organization, and that's what I kind of tried to push it towards. So, I mean, if you ever join Knights, it's kind of plastered. That's the Discord logo. I just want to say, really cool show. I really try to kind of use my leadership in the way that Lelouch does, except for not like betraying people. I don't
Yeah.
think I've gotten to that point yet.
Let,
You know, I might
less
have an
less
arc in the
killing.
future.
Oh god. We're gonna have
But
that scene where we have a gun each and just shoot each other.
basic.
Oh
But
god.
the start of it, you know, we got invited by some guy and he was like, "Hey, you guys are really strong. Why don't we make the strongest club or whatever?" And I was like,
Mm.
"Okay, that sounds cool." And then I was like, "All right, this guy's really not pulling his weight." It was kind of just a whole bunch of like, you know, whales and just
Mm.
this one guy who was kind of just doing whatever. So I was like, "Hey, how about?" And I'm gonna get some throwback names out here. So I took me, Lycos, Eins, who's been there from the beginning. Shout out to Eins. Toby Jin.
Oh
Shout out to
god.
Toby wherever he is. I think he finished building his house and now he's living in it. So
My guy
um,
Toby.
I think there was Banaki or something. Banaki OG. Yusuf Khan, which is Asagi.
Mm-hmm.
Just a couple of the people that we had took and we made night. We were like, we're gonna make this really cool club. We're gonna be the best, and we're gonna see how it goes. And just for it to turn into what it was, and then for me to start going, hey, you know, we only got 10 slots.
Mm.
But like, I'm not just trying to hang out with 10 people all the time. I really want to make a community out of this. What if we just started making? And in hindsight, and I've said this a lot of times, I wish I just named every club Knights because it would look a lot better when they won events. Like,
Yep.
you know, K3. Shout out to K3. I just feel like the number is kind of weird, but I mean, nobody wants to go back and regrind everything for building up teams. So I'm just gonna keep up the streak of that.
Just Knights 5 win is what the chat's saying, so
Knights 5, I honestly do want to make soon, and I want to. And a hike, and I know you're working with people to kind of, you know, I think, you know, cut me off if I'm saying too much.
oh no, go
That
for it.
Rudel's focus is to bring in new players as opposed to anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I really hope that I can give a space to new people, or people who just maybe want to get a taste of, you know, what Knights is like.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to open up Knights 5. I think my priority now is just kind of fleshing out things with Knights 4.
Mm-hmm.
Opening up that Knights 5 and just seeing kind of who wants to come in. I'm not gonna make it like a TTP restriction or whatever. You know, if you want to join, come join. If you want to see where you can fit around, whatever. I honestly have no problem with, I mean, if K4 just all of a sudden was filled with whales and they were trying to beat our asses every tournament, do that. At this point, it's just whoever can do whatever for Knights. I really appreciate you guys. We have a great community here. Um, Super active, super loving. Um, and I mean, I just want to put that out there. Join Knights. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, going off of that, I feel like I need to now reach out to Darrett and Crimson and get them into Knights too, just so we can take you to the final next. But and that would be funny. Just, and there we go. The sub club has absolutely destroyed them. I'm gonna need Darrett's number. Just, hey bud, I need you for this one. Crimson's gonna be in the chat, just going, don't do it. He's not gonna want to lose Darrett. But yeah, no, Knights 5 sounds interesting. And going on what Rudel is trying to do, yes, there is a big drive this month. It is targeted actually mid-month. So hopefully in the next 2 weeks, we'll start to see more players within our community. And I know a lot of people exist in that PWC Discord. And I'm hoping within the game where people start to notice these new players, whether or not Rudel actually make this official Discord. I think I've mentioned it a couple of times now. It does look like they're not going down that path, which is really irritating. But we do have Discords in place, whether it's the Hike and Plays one, whether it's the PWC one, and I'm trying to make sure that it's all advertised anyway, that we do build those communities, and when you see new players, go and help them out, because you never know who the next Knights or the next Espada or the next you know, Smek's teammate is going to be. And I'm just giving Smex a shout out right now as well. And Giga Chad gone. You never know who Giga Chad's going to recruit. We get Giga Chad 7 going.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those games where I can stop playing right now. I'll come back in a year. I'll drop whatever, and then I'll be back up. I guess, unfortunately for people who play long term, and fortunately for new players, you can kind of just hop in and just wreak havoc. So I
Absolutely.
guess if that's the way they want to go with it, I'm not complaining. I still play this game for the most part every day. I get my training in. New Chiguru unit just dropped, so I'm already trying to push that because I'm sure everybody knows he's going to be the next pivotal unit in this tournament. So get your single copy. If you're a whale, know what to do.
Yeah.
Close your eyes. Keep hitting reroll.
Just yeah, I'm not ready for that. I'm fighting the urge to get more than one copy because I know deep down I need to max it for best min maxing, but Jesus is it expensive at times, and with 2 limited units around the corner. So the next, for the spoiler for those of you who don't want to wait till Thursday's release, but yeah, the next units I'm going to be talking about is the 2 limited units, which are due next. So we're not getting any new units until those 2 limiteds drop. They are probably going to be mid-March, as a spoiler, because they are aimed to be that White Day character, which, for those of you who don't know, it typically happens 1 month after Valentine's Day in Japan. It's a day where people can reciprocate that Valentine's Day offering. Or at least that's what I think it is. I don't know too much about White Day, I'll be real with you. And that does actually line up perfectly for the second week of March. So first week we'll get the SSR, second week we'll get that limited unit, and then we'll get Sakura Isagi straight after that. So for those of you who don't have the income to go get multiple characters, I'd rather you wait for those limiteds, because they are very, very good and for like just future proof. Whilst this Chigiri being really important in this tournament, I'm just hoping you're going to get 1 or 2 copies throughout, and by waiting a week or two, you're going to end up passively getting him anyway, which is how I've been maxing all my characters. So
yeah, and I think the big thing I also want to push is you don't got to be a whale. You just got to be smart about it. Sometimes if it's not limited, don't got to kill yourself for it.
Exactly.
Pardon my wording, but like, you don't have to break the bank to max out stuff that's going to be around forever. Focus limited units. I'm been waiting for Sakura Asagi since I started playing the game. I'm gonna be honest with you. So
same.
Amazing unit. Definitely gonna cop. I just pulled this up on the screen here just because I realized I kind of glossed over it in my, remembering all the amazing times of winning the tournament. I'm cool with showing this just because we're going to be well beyond it coming soon. I mean, maybe aside from physical, but I mean, everybody kind of knows everybody's physical. I don't feel like I'm leaking anything here. Shout out to Hiking Leaks. But this was the final. This is what I was really using for those captains matches towards the latter half. I'm an Asagi fanboy. I really just like having Asagi in my team. Unfortunately, I still do not have a 10 million Asagi. But this skill, I would like to say, is the biggest highlight for all the midfielders and defenders that I was training is game control.
Yep.
I feel like so many of these matches, especially with intelligence being as souped as it is, and a lot of shots missing, game control was a super pivotal skill in this tournament. Just because if your physical player was not present, you don't want it to be a coin toss of who was getting that second ball. Yep. Having game control on all of my midfielder and defender players, just trying to make sure that I am winning these second balls. Also, you notice my Asagi is not completely skewed for intelligence. I actually, we had a short, and shout out to Zach. He was the person who really started this meta, and we kind of try to keep it in the mix a little bit. But for a while, we were doing Texagi instead of characters like Luna and such. This was before Anniversary Nagi. It actually worked out incredibly well. Isagi just being able to win breakthroughs and then also getting the benefit of having his kick power souped up for his skill, which is a shot skill. It was pretty cool. So honestly, my whole thing was building Asagi is I was just trying to get as close to 5 million intelligence as I can, because like 5 million for a lot of skills is just a really good thing to have around this point in the game. and getting as much tech as you can so that you will not lose to anybody and even have the potential, which I would say plays into one of the critical moments. This Asagi right here in that Darrett matchup got 2 clutch second balls, beat out the primary tech player who had about 5 million or so tech, and just basically clutched up that last. And it was a 2-1 game, mind you. So it could still have swung any way. It wasn't like a dominance match.
Mm-hmm.
This Asagi right here, and I'm so happy to say it because Asagi's my favorite character. He actually won me the game, just straight up. His performance, just it did it for me. Raichi that I mentioned was super pivotal character in this whole tournament.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of skills that he gets for it, and I mean, I was running him midfield before just because it worked out better. I feel like, and a lot of kind of OG players, and just explaining it for like newer players, running this lineup with Raichi as that defender and leading into your forward gave you a little bit of a feeling of that insta-cross meta that we used to have,
Mm-hmm.
where it almost felt like you just get the ball to your forward and he launches it, you make that shot. Raichi had basically only had to beat one person, and he was getting that ball to Rin, and whether Rin uses his skill or not, that shot's just going ballistic.
Mm-hmm.
This Rin, funny story, I did not train a better Rin throughout the whole entire tournament. Once I think I forget who came out. I think it was the anniversary Henri, and I already had the Matoma V4. My first training with the anniversary Henri got me this Rin, and I never upgraded it. I never updated it or anything. I just
Fair.
kept it like this, and for some reason, it performed. I don't even think it has DOS 10. Yeah, it's a FDOS 6. It got a lot of good gold skills, like Ace's Awakening. Where is it? Joker's pretty good too. This was another crucial skill, having infinite possibilities on anybody that you trained with Rin V2 to boost
Yep.
that attack success rate. Really key, and making sure that you're winning those attacks. I don't know what it was about this Rin because people like Zach had a way better Rin than me, and
Mm-hmm.
for some reason it just not performing. Call it unlucky. I just took it as, hey, if this Rin is going to keep on doing what he needs to be doing, not even going to bother upgrading.
Yeah, absolutely fair.
Bachira, and I mean there are people with way better Bachiras than me. Lucky guys. He just gets a lot. And I mean, he has the potential to not only get 5.5 million tech, but also reaching like 1 million in 4 other categories, or 3, speed, physical, and kick power could all reach 1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Training this unit was a little bit obnoxious, and training tech in general was just really rough.
Mm-hmm.
I actually did not get game control on this one. I was solely using it just for the fact that I got a 5.68 tech, and I was kind of riding off of that. And that's where we talked about, you need to have the stats and you also need to have the skills to back it up. I made the call of not running game control just because he had everything he needed to be a midfield. He could win his matchups, he could pass the ball. I just figured that's what I was going to prioritize. My Chigiri, who held it, he held it together. And I don't think this is actually the same Chigiri that I used. I think it was this one right here, this 4.6161. Also, he just didn't have a lot. I just used him for the stat because I noticed that a lot of Espana players just stat checking that speed. So I just had to make sure that I put out the best stat that I could.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, this team is what got me that final matchup win, that key moment, that critical moment. So, kudos to them. They're definitely going to be replaced for the next tournament. But all in all, just solid lineup. This is what I mean where, you're focusing tech, you're focusing speed, you have your intelligence, you have your physical. It's a good spread. I feel like in the future, we're going to get to a point where we can honestly doctor a stat
Mm-hmm.
just because depending on it, we're going to have so much intelligence at a point where I feel like if a physical player or a player who doesn't get kick breaks through,
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way for them to finish it. I feel like that might be one of the biggest drops in the future. It's just not even running something and running double of whatever, just because skills may be better. But I don't know. We will see that. I will be watching, a Hiken or a Tall 7 video to get an explanation on those things, because I am very much I observe. I don't make the meta, at least often.
Hmm.
A lot of this stuff is just information that's out there, whether it be you, whether it be, Tall's another YouTuber that I frequent. Um, you spread the knowledge, and I'm paying my respects to y'all because I'm just gonna soak that up and do what I can. I like to stay on top as long as I can. Eventually the fall off will come, but until that point, I mean, I'm gonna keep killing it.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, shout out to Tools as well. Like, he's this up and coming guy who's honestly, like, even I've ended up started watching his videos. He is up and coming. He's starting to produce some really good high quality content. So definitely give him a big shout out. Wow. Okay, that was a lot of information, especially around team building, which was uh, just fantastic, honestly. And I think looking at the next tournament, I don't know if now is the best time to sort of highlight some of the units that are going to be more prevalent in the next tournament. So if people, I will sort of give you guys a little tip. So depending on, I know the tournament's technically finished on the 31st of March, so we do have 31 days pretty much from now to the finals. So the meta will evolve throughout the tournament and the different phases of the tournament. Once we get to that finals, we are looking at probably having, well, we will almost definitely have the Rayo, which is going to be a pivotal defender. We may have Sakurasagi, which is, I think we might have a Raichi situation where we have like 3 days to prep a Sakurasagi. We might not even get him for the tournament. We will see. So Rayo might actually be that pivotal defender. I think this Chigiri is going to be phenomenal. The one's just come out. So I think what people want to start doing is looking and brainstorming what teams are going to work, and it's going to be very interesting to see what, I guess, the end product is going to look like, and maybe we'll try and make content per phase of the video, per phase of the tournament to see like what's working, what's not. We'll see.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, I'm hoping that it's another Raichi scenario because there's nothing more that I would like than to be able to use Sakura Sagi going into those matchups, which I can say, with the tournament being so soon, we
yep.
will be in the finals again. I look forward to seeing whoever is there. Um, may the best team win. That's all I can say. For Emil asking for if our retirement home has space, absolutely. I would love to collect, um, retired players. If you are a whale who just wants to take it easy and hang out with us at nights, you're more than welcome.
So I'm hearing me. I'm a whale.
You
I'm
are not retiring. I've heard nothing, but
I have no interest in
I'm so
retiring.
ready. I'm so ready for all these next units. You got the bug, man.
I,
Gotta ride the wave.
I have issues. Yeah, I couldn't do a Sultan and just leave. I'm surprised he pulled it off. But might as well give him a
Surprised he
shout
hasn't
out
come
as
back.
well. Yeah, I just wanted to give him a shout out. I was like, we've named so many old players, and one of the actual big reasons of me joining was you and Sultan. So might as well give him a shout out as well.
Yeah, and that also goes back to one of the questions you said of like, how do I lead such a just a large community? Big thing is also surrounding myself with people that I can trust to help me.
Mm,
I can't do it all on my own, and I know nobody expects me to do a lot of solo on my own. I do what I can. People respect that, and I also work together with a lot of people. Shout out to somebody who hasn't been mentioned also this entire time. Shout out to Ran.
oh
Ran
damn! How
is
did we not mention Ran?
I think it's I like to keep Ran a secret, a trade secret, because she was basically just like the Secretary of Knights for so long. And I
Hmm.
know that if anybody could, they would try to steal Ran as as hard as they could. I know people in Giga Chad, um, people in it's a hot commodity. I'm just very glad that Ran chose to stick with Knights and is still with Knights. For anybody wondering, Ran is
Hmm.
not, there is no nothing. Nobody's getting Ran. It's the same thing with Arrow. I have a no trade clause on both of them. They are here. They're for lifers unless they choose different.
Hear me
And
out.
even then,
I'll
I
trade
might
you.
strap them to a chair.
I will trade you Luka Doncic for Arrow. I mean,
You-
just throwing that trade in there.
I might have to think.
That's a wild
I
trade, no?
I do like Luca,
Who doesn't like
but no,
Luca?
I'm just kidding. I love Arrow, man. But yeah, Ran. She's one of the people who always helped me set up just a lot of community things, a lot of just keeping everybody together. Sultan, Rose, when Rose was here, they did a great job of leading the lower teams, and I think that's really what I'm missing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just having people that help, really tighten up the lower like club teams. Just because, just they're not lower because whatever. Like it's not to put anybody down. It's more
Hmm.
so just a spacing thing. Anybody is capable of doing whatever.
Hmm.
Like I said, K3, they kill it with events. They have a lot of knowledgeable people. Shout out Ray Dons. The silly little guy that I enjoy a lot in the server. Shout out to, and I'm gonna go to people. I'm making sure that I don't miss anybody here. Shout out to Daniel. I'm the problem, Legion, whatever he wants to go by.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, he and Haku, shout out to Haku, a lot of the early people on who helped me out with understanding this game,
Hmm.
and getting me to the point that I'm at. I really appreciate all those guys. Everybody along the way who's really just pushed me along. I really, I I'm so glad that I got to meet a lot of people that I was around. Shout out to T,
Hmm.
who brought us the greatest Chikawa emotes. If you don't know what Chikawa is, you can Google it later. It's this cute little cat thing. Um, you know, just everybody. In all honesty, Knights, you don't have to be a competitive person. Be a fun.
Yeah.
Just contribute to the community in any way that you can. Um, I love the.
Oh, I think you're cutting out as you were saying that, but like
Oh my god,
just
I love the community. Did that come?
well, just to add to that, I feel like there is almost just one name that just comes to my head when you talk about not competitive, and I don't want to be pushing no one's buttons, but when you talk about not competitive, someone that's actually just super chill and has been there, is at this point part of the furniture. Cosmos did not get a shout out, and I'm sitting here going, I need to give Cosmos a shout out as well. Like,
Yeah, huge shout out to Cosmos, and I will say this to save your skin. Cosmos is extremely competitive.
oh yeah, no,
They wanted
absolutely.
it. They wanted it just as much as any. Huge shout out to Cosmos because I think she definitely switched her tune a lot.
Yeah.
Initially, upon coming to K2, not a lot, that she had to say, but I think she's definitely a person that once she saw that, things needed to step up, there needed to be voices
Mm-hmm.
to help the team, and she's gotten on you plenty. Cosmos definitely speaks up and helps K2 very much. The maternal figure of K2 really keeps
Absolutely.
them together, and I'm super proud of K2 for making it into the final part of the tournament, and in all honesty, continuously giving people a run for their money. Not
Mm-hmm.
only me, but Giga Chad can attest to it as well. Espana can attest to it. If you sleep on them, they're gonna get you. That's just what it is. And I'm really proud to have multiple parts of my club that can just do on command. It's nice to see. It's nice to know that like it's not just the main club. Any club can do it. And I fully support all of them, and they all fully support me. It's a great relationship that I have with everybody.
I'm catching strays, by the way. They're all like, someone has to whip Hicken into shape, and I think they're kind of right. I'm not gonna lie. I have been probably the biggest letdown of K2. At parts. From one of the strongest members of K2. I sit near the middle somewhere now and need to do a big training session.
You've
For the next
fallen into
tournament.
that spectrum of you sleep on them, and then all of a sudden you are left in the dirt.
I really am left in the dirt. I mean, if you tallied everyone up, I'd be surprised if I was fifth. That's just how strong K2 is. Like, a lot of people look at me and go, "Damn, Hicken's solid." And like, I've had previous like number one experiences where I've had the strongest players, I've had the best trainings.
Yeah,
Knights 2 is no joke.
I'll never forget that 120k Raichi you popped out one night, and I was like, "What the absolute fuck?"
And I'll
And
never
I look
forget
at the
the
team you did it with, and I'm like, "What? Come on, man! How do I even beat this at this point? What did he even do? Like the luckiest man on the planet, Mr. 500 himself. I can clap it up.
I'm just gonna take that one in. I get a shout out. That's the one thing we haven't done. We haven't shouted me out. It's like, oh, a whole interview and I don't even get any praise.
No,
Um,
you are the host, my good sir. We and I can shout you out for a lot. I appreciate you. I know it was a super tough decision. It gave birth to some some real savages in the community known as traders. Shout out to them. I honestly, traders has supplied me with some of my best recruits.
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry for poaching.
They
Oops.
they live in K2 now, don't they? Like I've got a bunch of
Yep.
them here as well, so
Yeah, we
it's
got a
gone full
bunch of
circle.
traders member. Zach, Jacob, Muichiro, all just amazing pickups. They just came in and just did work. So shout
Mhm.
out to traders. Shout out to you for making the tough decision to leave your own club a long time ago to join us,
I still can't
and
believe I did
to
that.
kind of I you know I have a way with words. I guess I didn't actually think I could convince you. And then when you said let's do it, I said, well, here we go. I was telling everybody in the channels like we got hiking, boys. We did it. We won. And you've been a valuable asset since. I appreciate the floor that you're giving Knights. You didn't have to do this, so you know, you know, yeah, I hope you enjoy the payment in your accounts later.
Thanks,
Um,
man.
um, just everything that you've brought for the Knights community in general, being the soul. Oh man, being the soul. Not soul because there are plenty of other content creators, but I
Oh,
feel like
absolutely.
when you look up PWC Blue Lock, you get hiking. You being the face, just I I couldn't imagine surrounding myself with somebody better.
Thank you.
Um, I hope I can be half the. I appreciate.
Thank you. I mean, I actually wasn't expecting a shout out, but that was. I'm blushing. I don't know how to end this now. You've ruined it. I can't do this anymore. This is too much focus. I'm normally the guy getting the poop ripped out of him in chat, as most of my chats know. But yeah, no, this was amazing. The fact that we got such a big insight, the fact that we got to just have a chat and just seeing so many people show up as well. Guys, there's like 31 of you, and I know it's not all Knights players. It's not like it's a giant hug fest from it's players from all over the place, past, present, allies, enemies, etc., whatever you want to call it. The fact that you're all here supporting this is just phenomenal. Honestly, we have a great community here. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to end the YouTube segment of this. So I'm going to say thank you to every single person that's been watching this. This is an hour-long video almost. The fact that we've done an hour-long interview and this is about to go live, enjoy that. I'll try and get a nice thumbnail set up for it. It's probably not going to be nice, let's be real. My artistic skills are not there. But YouTube, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.